Justin, this is going to be an interesting one. What is your most controversial second-tier opinion?
I wouldn't put in my top 5 players that I've seen in the Championship.
People are expecting Fulham to win the league, or at least finish in the top 2. They're just matching expectations, quite frankly. Who's he done a better job then out of those 5?
You're an absolute pain.
Exactly. Next topic, Justin.
To be 19 years old and to carry the creative stats that he has is it's absolutely astonishing.
He's going to be a Premier League player next season, whether it's with Huddersfield or not.
Yeah, the flicks, the tricks, the goals, he was absolutely astonishing. The mullet as well was quite special.
He was just a one-man show, wasn't he? He was just doing skills that you'd see from like a seal at a circus. It was fantastic, 24/7. Well, hello there. Welcome back to another episode of the Stopwatch. It's the Championship show with a little twist. It's 5 topics, 2-minute timer, and 2 hosts. We're Ryan and Justin from the Second Tier Podcast. Let's get right into it, shall we? With Luton up to 5th in the table, are they good enough, Justin Peach, to reach the playoffs?
It's a great question, and I think because they're in it, you've got to say yes. They've earned their right to at least compete with the top 6 teams, and especially since the turn of the year, they've been ridiculously consistent. They've been, when they've not played well, they've still ground out results. There's been the odd game where they haven't quite shown up or been at their best, but they've either lost, but they haven't necessarily been hammered. And they're a team that have a really good balance. They're a hard-working side. Defensively, they're good. They've kept the most clean sheets in the league so far this season. And yeah, for me, they do deserve the right to be in that playoff mix. Who knows? They could even lay a few punches on the top 2.
I absolutely agree with you. I think they're definitely 100% good enough to finish in the top 6. There's always been a few doubts because it is Luton, battling alongside teams like, the likes of Bournemouth and West Brom, for example, who have massive wage budgets compared to Luton. But they have got a lot of quality there, haven't they? You've got players like Adebayo, for example, who I can definitely see being a Premier League player at some point. And then also players like Alan Campbell, who's been fantastic since coming in. So while they are a very hard-working side, you shouldn't just look at them and think, right, all they do is run. They've got some very, very good quality players in there, haven't they?
Yeah, and you're not even mentioning the likes of Danny Hilton and Cameron Jerome, who have come in over the last sort of few weeks and really had a really positive impact. And Cal Naismith, free transfer last season, has been one of the best value signings probably over the last few years, because he's coming in a free transfer and it looked like I'm not going to say it, a Rolls Royce centre half, a good ball playing centre half, and yeah, he's really fitting well. And yeah, they're such a good side. They've got such a good mix of players, and absolutely deserve the to be up there.
100%. And dare I say it, I don't think top 2 is completely out the question, but that's a conversation for a bit further down the line. Justin, what's next topic?
Now, 4 games without a win. Do you think Reading will be relegated?
At the moment, I'm very torn. I'm looking at Derby, Derby, Barnsley, and Reading, and thinking it's 33%, 33%, 33% between all 3 of them. I honestly cannot pick at the moment who I think is going down. Reading, I was pretty sour on up until they got that point against Bournemouth and looked really good. But before that, they looked shocking and looked like the side that we saw that were just terrible under Veljko Paunovic. But that was a lot more sign of encouragement. And they've, of course, got more points than the other 2, which is obviously quite important. So at the moment, I'm really, really struggling, Justin, but you're quite keen on them staying up, aren't you?
I absolutely am. I think you go to that Bournemouth game, for example, and you see the quality, the individual quality that the players have. Tom Ince's goal was absolutely fantastic. And they ground that game out. Now, I don't know if that's because Bournemouth just lifted their foot off the gas completely and allowed Reading to get back into the game. It's very hard to tell. But what they did in that game is they showed the determination needed to stay up. And for me, I think the likes of Barnsley and Derby probably don't quite have enough. They probably don't quite have the quality and depth that Reading do, which isn't that much. And as well as that, there's a lot of ground that needs to be made up from Barnsley and Derby, but they could run them close. But as I say, Reading for me are in the driving seat. I don't think they'll be relegated, although having the likes of Paul Ince in charge is definitely it adds an interesting scenario into the mix.
I will never understand how you're so confident about Reading staying up. I've got to say, because I still think it is so even. I think Derby and Barnsley are going to run it really, really, really close. And it's all up for grabs at the moment. It's why the relegation battle is so juicy, because honestly, you could not call it right now. All three have got question marks. All three have got massive positives. Justin, this is going to be an interesting one. What is your most controversial second tier opinion?
Yeah, it is a difficult one, and there's a lot we could say. But for me, I'm going to go straight in with 2 feet here, Kevin Muscat style. I'm going to say Adel Taarabt. I wouldn't put Adel Taarabt in my top 5 players that I've seen in the Championship. Now, for individual quality, he was outstanding. His dribbling ability was outstanding, but I only saw 1.5 seasons of it, and then it sort of it dipped into nothingness. And couple that with him being pocketed twice by Robbie Savage, I think gives you a lot to say. And there was literally a picture of a pair of slippers in Robbie Savage's back pocket that he put on Twitter back when social media was very young. So yeah, I wouldn't put Adel Taarabt in my top 5 players ever. I think he had one good season and he's ridden on that. He's had a lot of beers off that, shall we say?
All right. Out of interest, who are the players you put ahead?
Oh, why would you put me on the spot like that?
Just quickly.
Pablo Hernandez, Billy Sharp, Ricky Lambert, Adel, Whittingham. I'm trying to think. Wes Morgan.
All right. My most controversial second tier opinion is that Marco Silva isn't in the top 5 championship managers for this season. And I'll tell you why. Here are 5 managers who have done better than him: Carlos Corberán, Steve Cooper, Nathan Jones, Wayne Rooney, and Neil Critchley. All 5 of them have gone far past expectations this season. People are expecting Fulham to win the league, or at least finish in the top 2. They're just matching expectations, quite frankly. And when you've got the amount of resources, the amount of quality of players they've got in that squad, I don't think you can put Marco Silva in the top 5 managers. Sure, Fulham have been excellent for the vast majority of the season. But when you look at the jobs that those 5 managers I've just mentioned there, all of them have done sensational. And in normal seasons, all 5 of them would probably be contenders in themselves for manager of the season. Very quickly, Justin.
I would disagree to an extent. I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, you look at Scott Parker had a similar team, similar resources 2 years ago, and he faltered with them and faltered quite badly. So you've got to give Marco Silva credit, top 5 credit, I think, for him being able to knit this side together the way he has and to get the amount of goals he has out of this team. It's absolutely
very quickly then. Who's he done a better job then out of those 5?
You're an absolute pain.
Exactly. Next topic, Justin.
Oh God, who has been the best midfielder in the division this season?
Lewis O'Brien, Huddersfield, fantastic. He is put in an 8 out of 10 pretty much every game this season. At no point has he dipped below a 7 at least. He has been phenomenal. And I mean, we've always known he's had quality. Even when Huddersfield were pretty bang average last season, he was still exceptional. But this season, he's taken it to a new level. Without a doubt, he's dominated midfields. He is brilliant on the ball going forwards. He runs tirelessly. I think he's got the most tackles for any player in the division this season. Lewis O'Brien, easy top 1 for me this season. And he's going to be a Premier League player next season, whether it's with Huddersfield or not.
Yeah, very hard to disagree with you. I think O'Brien's been absolutely brilliant, but just to add a bit of variation, I'll go Fabio Carvalho. And I think the way he's impacted that Fulham team, now it's a good Fulham team, it's a very good Fulham attack, but we saw sort of October, November time, they dipped a little bit in performances, they dipped a little bit in creativity, and that coincided with his absence from the team. Now, to be 19 years old and to carry the creative stats that he has is it's absolutely astonishing. And yes, he is in a good team, but again, to do it at 19 years old is simply quite sublime. And he's a player I think would hopefully go on to play for England and nobody else, because he's up there. He's a very good number 10, very tricky player, very good at picking up spaces, very, very intelligent as well.
You won't hear any arguments from me. He's a fantastic player, one of the best talents I've seen at championship level. And without a doubt, he's out of contract this summer anyway. So it seems inevitable that he's going to a top side this summer. And he's going to be a phenomenal player if he gets game time as well. Finally, Justin, it's second tier retro time. If you could bring back one player from the archives and add him into the championship tomorrow, who would it be?
Again, so hard to find an angle to go down, but I've gone with Lee Trundle. And now I want prime Lee Trundle when he was at Swansea in sort of the mid 2000s. I want at Lee Trundle when he was at his peak in League One. That's Lee Trundle I want, because he had the ability of a street playing Brazilian youngster. Just that sort of ability, that the flicks, the tricks, the goals. He was absolutely astonishing. The mullet as well was quite special. And yeah, for me, he was a player who needed to play in the Championship a lot sooner than he did, because he didn't quite hit the heights at Bristol City. Still pretty decent, but not quite hitting the heights. So I want prime Lee Trundle in the Championship.
Prime Lee Trundle was amazing. He was just a one-man show, wasn't he? He was just doing skills that you'd see from like a seal at a circus. It was fantastic, 24/7. The player I'd like to see back in the Championship, a bit of an outsider, is Lewis McGugan. And the reason I say that is because I feel like McGugan's one of those players who will always go down as a bit of a what if. Mm-hmm. When he first came into that Forest side, he was amazing. Could make a decent argument. One of the best, technical players the Championship has ever seen for someone so young. Such a raw talent. That free kick against Ipswich, Justin, is going to live long in the memory. But it's not just that. He scored so many other goals that do not get talked about anywhere near enough. Of course, that free kick was amazing, but he scored a lot of screamers as well. But he's just sheer passing ability, his dribbling. I'd love to see him have another go, reset things, and him have another go when he was, early 20s, and see the kind of player that he could become if other factors hadn't played a part in his career, because he was an unbelievable talent. And there we go. Episode 26 of the Stopwatch. Are we sticking to the 2-minute timer? Not too sure, but let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and drop us a like if you've enjoyed. I'd really like to hear what you guys have got to say for your most controversial second tier opinion. And also please subscribe for more content like this. We've been the Second Tier Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Second Tier Pod. I'm Brian Dilks1. That's Justin Peach 27, and thank you for watching.